So, hi guys. It is.
Hey.
What?
Sorry, I knew it was happening, and I just got completely unawares. It's been a long day.
What's happening?
Oh, what are we doing? What is this now?
Hi guys.
There's a lot of lights. A lot of lights on me. What's going on?
It's day 67 of lockdown, and maybe it seems like it.
I've been thinking about things.
It is also May 26th. So before we get into some of those things, bugger, I've left my phone making noise over there. I am actually going to pause and deal with that because there were quite a lot of messages coming in. Hang on. Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, so that was a bad start, wasn't it?
Slick as ever.
So professional.
We've got so much stuff to get through.
Yeah,
so
we
let's
do.
Crack on.
Well, today's actually, we've had some good news today, which is about time for someone to have some. Today we had Poppet's visit to the vets. And they've taken the dressing off and the splint off, and so now she is allowed to, she's not allowed out yet, but she's got the run of the house, and sorry, that's a dog getting on a sofa. She's got the run of the house, and we don't have to be quite so careful about her not jumping up on things, although the bandage has come off and her poor little leg looks ever so tiny and weak and feeble underneath it.
Not quite fully confident.
She's not, she's not putting weight on it at all. I think she's used to the dressing and the splint holding it all together, and now that that's not there, it probably feels quite weird.
So hopefully she's getting a bit more confident, but it's, obviously they shaved it, it's kind of grown a bit underneath the dressing, but it looks very thin and kind of...
it looks a bit sad, and actually also a bit gross. Like, she hasn't been able to groom it, obviously, and she's got to wear the cone for this week, so she won't be able to groom it for a week, so she's going to have a stinky leg for a bit. But basically they haven't had to leave any stitches in where they've taken the pins out, but there are sort of sore bits that need to heal a bit better, so that's why she's not really allowed out and about. But yeah, so that's brilliant. So I kind of want to sort of use that as a good landmark to sort of talk about some of the stuff, because we originally started, I've just realised this is really wonky. Let's put that there, shall we? We originally weren't going to monetize the blog at all, and that was never the plan to do so. But then when the Poppet leg break situation happened, and we realised we were then going to go over the insurance excess. We did set it up. Thankfully, I've got to say, people have been very, very generous, and in total, we've raised up to now, from the day we opened it, £291, which has made a massive dent into the extra that we've gone into.
Very much.
So we will send individual thanks on Ko-fi. Still don't know how to say it. I assume coffee, but we'll send individual thanks. But I just wanted to give a massive shout out on thanks for that, because basically we've gone about 570 quid over what our insurance would cover, which was £4,000.
And that would be a big chunk of change to us usually, but obviously Ellie's business isn't running at the moment. I can't do any stand-up comedy gigs. My other part-time job I'm in furlough from, so I'm on 80% of that way. So it's
so it was quite scary times, and very frustrating, considering we'd done the right thing by having her insured to the maximum level. So it was quite scary, but actually, as it is, we can sort of scrimp and save a little bit for the rest. It's much less pressure, so huge thank you to that. Whatever you gave, like from £3 I think to 60, which was amazing. Anything at all was amazing, so thank you. We will leave the coffee link up, but that's because we've basically set that up for now, doing the sketches and bits and bobs that we're doing. So as you're not gigging, we might as well do some comedy and get some tips there.
More sketches and content and doing stuff, and to be honest though, that money is still probably going to go towards the pet food bit of our household budget, and paying for all our cats and dogs and things. So so if you enjoy any of the sketches we made, if you want to make a donation, we would still welcome that, and it will all go to looking after our animals, won't it? So
yes, absolutely. But yeah, it's absolutely blown away by the generosity, because everyone's sort of scrimping a bit at the moment. Nobody's sort of rolling in it right now, except for maybe Jeff Bezos. How do you say his name?
I try not to.
Oh, right, fair enough. So it's massively appreciated. Thank you very much. That's sort of the stuff that's going on here, which also means that we can sort of have our house back and
Yes.
not have to be at the moment, because she's still very wobbly today. We've left the baby gate shut at the top of the stairs. She's got the whole of upstairs if she wants it. She's actually just hidden under the bed the whole time since she came back from the vet. But we don't have to sort of be choosing whether we're in with her or out with it, or with each other. We can actually just sort of be wherever we want to be in the house.
We don't have to kind of confine ourselves to entertainment that can be done in a bedroom. We can play a board game. We haven't played a board game. It sounds like such a. Like,
sorry, I was just laughing at you saying
ambition,
it was entertainment that can be done in a bedroom.
Well,
whilst caring for a sick cat.
Yes, who is a family member, and therefore. Guys, get your minds out of the gutter.
It's just me.
You, yeah.
It was just with the innocence that you didn't even notice you'd said it.
I'm very innocent and naive.
You are.
I still think it's just for pissing.
Okay. So it will be nice to be able to do nice, wholesome family fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, board games, and just be able to watch things with it, because a couple of times we sort of settled down to watch something because we've been in with Poppet and she's been asleep and she's sort of seemed fine, and then we've put something on the telly and then we've heard her sort of go brrr, brrr, and then banging against the door and like, okay, end of that then. So yeah, it'll be nice to have the house back. And have time together back. So yeah, like I don't know how your lockdown is going, but we're really excited to be able to be in the whole house.
Yeah.
So
that
will be nice. So thank you very much on that. So we got quite a bit of real world stuff. Oh, yes. Actually, one other little mention that I just gonna little shout out to old Kath Powell for my Fuck the Tories necklace. She bought one of these, or a version thereof, for all of our little posse. So we have fuck the Tories, fuck the Daily Mail, fuck fascism, and fuck the patriarchy. And that is the Fab Four of fucks, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I'm all for that. So thank you very much. I love it. I literally was going to buy myself one. So you saved me a job and some money. So cheers. Love it. So yes, that was the only real world stuff, not our life stuff, that I wanted to make sure I covered today before we got into some of the craziness that's going on in the world. Anything you particularly want to start with? Because we've got quite an extensive list.
I think maybe we should start sort of headline news. Well, with a couple of responses to the Dominic Cummings thing that have come out. So first of all, there's a vicar called Martin Poole from Brighton. Okay. And he has questioned Matt Hancock at today's briefing.
Right. Which
I
didn't
read
see.
about this in the Mirror. I don't know if he's also a journalist. I don't know why he had access to Matt Hancock at the briefing to ask this question. But
he could have been the public. They are taking questions
brilliant.
from the public.
Okay, that's great. But anyway, so he has asked Matt Hancock if parents who faced fines for travelling under lockdown
I did see this.
are going to get refunds for any fines that were due to travel care.
Yeah, if they gave the reason if they were travelling for childcare in their fine.
And they're already and Matt Hancock has said he's going to talk to the Treasury and review this. And people are already talking about sort of Dom's law. I don't know how I feel about this, because I can understand people's feeling if you've
been charged for doing what he did and he's got away with it, then I can see you being like, well, I want my money back then.
Why one rule for him and not for me? Yeah. But on the other hand, these fines are there for a reason. Yeah. People are supposed to be following the rules, and it's like it's overturning the whole lockdown and saying...
What I would have done would have said, regardless of the legality of it, Dominic Cummings, as a goodwill gesture, will you pay the same full fine?
The same fine that other people in your situation have found themselves in. Yeah. That's absolutely... but it's... Because it's... I can understand...
Rather than overturning other people's, they should have just charged him his.
Yeah, I can understand the desire to make it fair and why the people would feel the resentment, but at the same time, we're supposed to be following these rules.
Because now anybody who is asked where they're going, they're just going to say,
well, this is
childcare.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who behaved irresponsibly who just now turn around and do the same thing as Dominic Cummings and say, I was doing the best thing for my child.
That's going to happen, isn't it?
That's what he's done, isn't it? It's all bullshit on his end. So that's one response. Another person who's responded is Piers Morgan.
Yeah, who I keep agreeing with, and it makes me feel dirty.
Here's the thing, though.
What's he said today?
Well, he has, because he's normally, I think he kind of likes to think of himself as sort of a man of the people, you know, saying the things that the public think and all that kind of, but only the right-wing arsehole public.
Usually.
But he's been getting a lot of praise in recent weeks. But a lot of left-wing people going, "Oh, I can't believe I believe."
Yeah.
I
He's
agree
just been
with
holding
Piers
the
Morgan.
government to account quite firmly, which has been good to see
great.
because they've needed it.
But today, maybe all that praise has gone to his head, and it feels like he's got a little bit carried away.
What's he said?
Well, he has threatened that if nothing is done over Dominic Cummings, he is going to go and visit his parents that he hasn't seen in 12
did
weeks.
see that he'd threatened that. I think he threatened that yesterday, actually.
Oh, right, okay. I'm a little behind the news curve, apparently.
Yeah, I assume that's just bluster, because actually, although he has been saying for ages that he hasn't seen his children, his sons, and he hasn't seen his parents, so unless he's fired, I think he said it before the press conference where Dominic Cummings was going to be talking as a bit of bluster. Obviously, if he does go and see his mum, that's on him.
Because the thing is, if he is doing it, if he's saying it as a joke, like I've seen, a lot of us have made jokes on Twitter and Facebook and things about, we're
I'm
going
to
drive to Durham then. Oh, let's all go and do an eye test to a castle, and that's fine. But if he's doing this, he's got quite a big platform. There's lots of viewers.
Yeah,
if
he might just be. If he then does it, then it's just more encouraging to for other people to flout it again.
And that's the whole point, isn't it? It shouldn't be
a better threat that I saw somebody make, which unfortunately I didn't catch his name, but there's an intensive care doctor who has threatened to resign if Dominic Cummings is not sacked, which carries more weight because it's essentially saying, if you let this man get away with this, there's no point me doing my fucking job because you're making it so much harder for me. And now I don't know how firmly he believes that. I will have to double check. I'll put it in the blurb. I'll check who he is. But he basically works in intensive care. He's been dealing with corona patients. He's been dealing with all of this being very difficult. And he has said, if Dominic Cummings does not resign or is sacked, then I'm going to resign as an intensive care doctor, which is awful. If you're thinking that's, I don't blame him, actually. I think that actually carries some weight that maybe a lot of other people don't. I understand his frustration, and I agree with it. Essentially, I think Dominic Cummings should have been sacked without a fucking nanosecond's thought. Really, other people were forced to resign pretty promptly for much lesser infractions of this. So regardless of whether or not he found a loophole, basically it's not in the spirit of it. It's encouraging the wrong message. You work for the government. Bye. Toodles.
And someone has already resigned, haven't they?
Yes. Douglas Ross, who is a Tory minister for Scotland. I don't think I don't actually know his constituency, but he basically said he can't in good faith carry on as part of this. He sort of feels that he's got too many constituents who are rightly upset and angered by this, and after the result of yesterday's press conference he feels he can't in good faith carry on as part of this government and has quit, which I have to say, fucking A. Good work, Douglas Ross. I had never heard of you until now. I don't think he will struggle for a job in politics after this, because if he stands as an independent in his constituency, they will lap that up. If he goes to another party, he will be re-elected in no time, I would have thought, because that is going to be a popular move with your constituents under this. So actually, I think it's quite a savvy move for anyone in politics to get as far the fuck away from this as possible. What I imagine most of the Tories are hoping is that if enough, because I think about, last time I checked it was about 30, it might have been 31 Tory MPs have publicly called for the resignation or dismissal of Dominic Cummings publicly, against sort of the party line. I imagine that number will grow. I think, basically, as an individual MP, if you're not anywhere close to the cabinet, I think the savvy move, if you want to ever be re-elected, is to show that you're not on board with this. Perhaps fence it a little bit with, I don't necessarily think it might not have been entirely against the rules, but I just think for the sake of it sending the right message, he should be dismissed. Personally, I'd rather them saying, no, this is outrageous, sack him or we quit. But it doesn't send the right message that he's still got his job. And when other people who have made lesser infractions immediately got... That's the rank hypocrisy of all of it is the bit that's really getting me. Because Dominic Cummings being a dick, well, dicks do what dicks do. I'm not that surprised that he broke the rules. I don't think he gives a shit. But the thing that I am surprised by is that they are willing to throw all of the sort of public health messaging out of the window in order to save his skin, because that essentially is saying to everybody, fuck the rules, which is going to undermine the public health and safety. And basically more people will catch COVID, more people will die. They're willing to do that to save him, which is baffling. But the fact that they've done that when literally just weeks ago, when Neil Ferguson had his missus coming over for a little something, neither of them had any symptoms. It was within London. They only did it twice in the space of like a month.
Neither of them
travelled far, and essentially weren't taking any more risks than they would have been if they'd been going to the supermarket. And it was right for him to resign. I think he should have resigned. I think that's fair, because unfortunately you've undermined your own message, and the only thing you can really do is go, sorry.
And you have to set an example to the people who are following the rules and need to keep following the rules.
When that happened, and your Matt Hancocks were outraged, calling out his hypocrisy and demanding his resignation, you can't do that then for him and not do it now for Dominic. I'm sorry, you just can't. It's such hypocrisy. I can't speak today. Yeah. It's such hypocrisy. And the fact that you can do it with a straight face is unbelievable. Like, the gall of you fucking twats. Like, how can you, with a straight face, and just go, you know we've got cameras, right? You know we've got Twitter. You know we can see that you said these things like a matter of weeks ago, and now you're saying the opposite. You're moving the goalposts. It is proper Orwellian bullshit. Oh no, he didn't really say that. Yes, he fucking did. No, we're going to say that he didn't say that. We're going to change what the rules really mean. No, those were the rules, and we were all following them. And other people who broke them that worked in government were fired for breaking them. So even if you think he found a loophole, he should still be fired. He didn't just bend them a little bit, he fucking broke them and basically pissed all over them. Oh. Like, he didn't just do a little bit, he broke several rules a few different times. Like, going to Durham was breaking the rules, going back to work after visiting his wife when she was sick was breaking the rules, going out to Barnard Castle while he was in Durham was breaking the rules. All of it was just, like, it's all rule breaking. Every single one of those things individually is breaking individual rules of lockdown. So why is he allowed to do it? He knows where the bodies are buried. Like, he's got something over them, and I'm very curious to know what. I don't know if we'll ever know, because I think there's some real bullshit going on here. Just like something, because Dominic Cummings has got something on this cabinet, because never has anybody managed to keep their job in this kind of situation, and he's not even an elected official. He's staff. This is causing them, like, in 4 days they've lost 20 points in approval ratings. Boris Johnson has gone into negatives for the first time since all of this kicked off. How he wasn't already in negatives baffles me, because he's only 1 point negative now. I mean, to lose 20 points in 4 days is fucking that is a huge drop.
Given that we are the leading in Europe of deaths per million people, and so much of that death has been entirely preventable.
Yeah, and the broadsheets...
Like, people still backing Boris are like turkeys voting for Christmas.
Yeah, the right-wing broadsheets even now are essentially saying it is a fact that the slow start of lockdown has led to at least around about 22,000 unnecessary deaths that wouldn't have occurred if we'd implemented a stricter, faster lockdown. Plus, doing the slow lockdown at the start meant that the virus got further through the population, which means we're going to be in lockdown a lot longer of some degree. So in yesterday's press conference, they waffled on a bit about the sort of the shops opening and certain measures that they're easing, which unfortunately I think will mean that similar measures come in a bit later in the devolved countries, because they'll probably kind of have to. Because if you've got a national chain and you're running you're a retailer, for example, you're going to want it. Well, if I've got my staff in England back in, I want my staff in Wales and Scotland and Ireland, and there's going to be pressure to open. What I am hoping the devolved governments do is kind of leave it long enough to see what happens in England, and see what the figures do, because better to maybe take that risk of maybe 3 or 6 weeks and then go, no, they're having to close straight back up. If we don't open, we might save a lot more. Well, save a lot more lives, save a lot more hospital admissions. And don't get me wrong, like, this is not coming from a place of not wanting us to reopen. I'd love for us to be reopen. But I would love us not to be rife with coronavirus.
Well,
but we are.
I would love to be able to go out and do stand-up gigs. Ellie runs a business that she's very proud of and loves and has worked really hard on.
I haven't been to work since March.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I can't get my head around this. Like, I've never not worked for this long. That's insane. Like, even when I first got diagnosed with fibromyalgia and I was in bed for 3 months, I'm still back. Like, I still got work. I got work part-time when I was diagnosed in May and I was working in September, so it's about on par. And that was going from, like, basically bedbound to, like, getting myself back to work. This is bonkers. Like, I'm not somebody who is work shy. I would rather be back in work, and I would rather everybody be back to normal. I'd rather be doing all of the things that we can't wait to do again. But I don't want us to do it too quickly, and it mean overall more people die. Overall, the recession is worse. Overall, lockdown has to be stricter for longer. And the way this is being handled is such a fucking shit show that I honestly wonder if I'm going to be back in work this year. I just don't know if, like, I think leisure businesses will be the last ones to reopen, and I think we'll keep, like, relaxing lockdown measures and then going, oh shit, no, and then restricting again, and I think we'll do that quite a few times before we get to the stage where we can actually fully open everything.
I tell you what, you know, when all this started, Boris Johnson was very keen to say he was still going around and shaking people's hands. I think after all this, even if we get to a point where it's okay to kind of shake hands and interact with people again, I think Boris Johnson's going to really struggle to get anyone to touch his hand. Like, some people have moral objection, but a lot of people just because they're squeamish about blood.
I did not know where that was going, but yeah, fuck me. Blood on their hands, and, like, I know that's an emotive thing to say, but there are unnecessary deaths on their hands, and other countries had the better idea, followed the science that was coming out of the World Health Organization, who said test, track everything. So basically, if we had done what other countries have done, I'll use New Zealand as an example, but actually other sort of less rich and well-off countries have done similarly, of just immediately, once this was bubbling up and we're starting to, even if we'd done it when, like, things were starting to sort of shit was starting to hit the fan in Italy, if we'd just gone, right, okay, at this stage, we maybe don't do lockdown, but we absolutely close the borders and do strict quarantine to anybody coming in, no flights from Italy, and strict testing, so that anyone who did come in, and because when you've only got a few cases popping up here and there, it's relatively easy to track who they've come into contact with. They did it I can't remember where the country actually was, but one of the sort of test subjects that they've used to sort of work out some of the modelling on how COVID spreads in an indoor space was one case where he sat in a restaurant for an hour and a half, and they found everybody else who'd been in that restaurant, mapped out where they'd been sitting, and worked out from that hour and a half of him sitting in this position which tables had infections from it, which then they worked out because of the airflow in the restaurant who got. They can really do so. The fact that they could get that down to one person and find all of the people that had been in that restaurant, you can do it when you've got a few cases, but not when you've got thousands, the resources to track everybody's contacts when you've got thousands of people. Because even under lockdown measures, you've got people coming into contact with other people. If you're a key worker, for example, you're going to come into contact with a lot of people, even with PPE. But most key workers, say if you work in a supermarket or even like waste disposal, bin men are touching different people's bins who've touched their bins every morning. They've got gloves, but they haven't got sort of protective equipment. Like, they are coming into contact, even if it's not direct face-to-face contact, they're coming into contact with people over and over again, all day, every day. Yeah, the chances, because they're sort of saying outdoor transmission is low, but even something like, let's say one of those people is just going, oh shit, the bin men are coming. Oh, right, I'll put my bin out. Oh, right, there we go, never mind. And then they just touch it, and then, oh, it's hot out here, isn't it? Like, it doesn't take much. The more your risk, the more people you're coming into contact with, the higher your chance. And if you've got it basically throughout the population, that's going to be happening. So if you close down the country sooner, if you'd had better border control to sort of control it, then we would be reopening by now. New Zealand has reopened, and all they're doing is quarantining people coming into the country.
But the thing is, even if we put aside the mistakes that were made early on, and there's no particular reason why we should. They should be accountable for those things. But even if we were to put those things aside, and say what's done is done, and we need to move forward, Dominic Cummings and Boris Johnson are still willfully, knowingly behaving in ways that protect themselves, that continue to further endanger the public, and that's incredibly irresponsible.
Whatever, like, their reasons,
behaviour.
Like, Boris Johnson, if it is literally just that he doesn't think he can do the job without Dominic Cummings, I don't think he particularly fucking likes the job. He just wanted to be Prime Minister. Fucking resign then.
Yeah, he's done
You'll
it now,
still
hasn't
say
he?
you've been Prime Minister.
It's gonna be in the
you
record
will
books.
go down in the history books as the worst fucking Prime Minister
That's
ever.
happening anyway.
But that is going to happen everywhere.
Even worse than Theresa May.
I
Who would
know.
have thought it? Who could
David
imagine?
Cameron fucked a pig.
David
Like-
Cameron fucked a pig, and he's the best Prime Minister we've had in a decade.
That's depressing.
It is, isn't it? I tell you what,
Jesus
we've got
Christ.
a couple more things.
Yeah,
to
we'll
talk
move
about
on because we'll squeeze in a few bits.
You were talking about Douglas Ross, who
Yes.
has resigned in protest to the Dominic Cummings situation, and I have found out about another MP that I wanted to talk about who has stood up to Dominic Cummings.
Okay.
And I thought you'd be interested in this one because he's in Wales.
Oh, he's done it. He's done his
I've
research.
done my
He's got a bit of
research.
paper.
And he's the MP for Delwyn in North Wales.
That's
He's called-
probably pronounced Delin, I'm guessing, but I don't know.
Probably, almost certainly, Delyn in North Wales. Oh boy, this is. If I was a professional, they'd give me an auto cue and they'd tell me how to pronounce
Yeah,
that.
they
before.
put it
They'd probably do
phonetically for
me.
you,
They'd know what I'm like. And I've only lived in Wales.
I haven't even seen how it's spelt.
I only lived in Wales for about 15 years, so.
Has it been 15 years? Crikey.
Probably more than that. So.
God, we're old.
About 20 odd years.
Almost 35 for me.
Christ.
I did live in London for a bit.
20,
I'm
no, not
lying.
20 odd years. That can't be right, can it? Because I'm 35 now.
Yeah, you did move here when you were 15.
No.
You did your A levels in England, didn't you?
Yeah. And
University.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting wildly off course, and we have so much stuff still to cram in because Rob Roberts, MP for Delwyn in North Wales, Delyn in North Wales, he tweeted on Monday that there needs to be a proper investigation into the Dominic Cummings thing. He also took to Facebook to say, of course it's right that we cannot have one rule for one and another for the rest.
Yeah.
If Mr. Cummings has acted inappropriately according to an investigation, then he should go.
Right. Yes.
And then also on Monday, police visited the home of Rob Roberts, MP for Delyn, North Wales, to break up a birthday party.
Oh no!
Now, by birthday
Rob, I was with you.
By birthday party, I should say like 2 people who weren't part of the household were there and were asked to leave. Still breaking the rules explicitly. Now, a spokesman has said.
A spokesman for Rob Roberts now?
Yes, has said that he was not there over the bank holiday weekend. He was in London.
Oh, so it was one of
he returned
somebody
on
else
Monday
in his house.
evening.
So...
It was his wife's birthday over the weekend. She has done him up like a kipper. She has massively undermined him. If he's genuinely not been a part of this thing.
Yeah, that doesn't look good though, does it?
This happens secretly behind his back, to be honest. But
well, I don't know, because actually it could have been one of her mates just gone. We just won't tell him.
Yeah.
We'll just pop in.
But yeah, that's
it's your birthday. I've got a bottle of wine for you. We'll just pop in.
What I would say.
What harm can it do?
I mean, what I would say.
Sorry, I just love it. It's so ridiculous.
What I would say to Rob Roberts, MP for Delyn in North Wales, I would say, of course, it's right that we cannot have one rule for one and another for the rest. And if Mr. Roberts has acted inappropriately, or his wife, frankly, according to an investigation, then he should go.
I'm not sure if he literally wasn't there that he should lose his job over the actions of his wife, because that really sets a bit of a dangerous precedent.
I think it's the household, though, isn't it? It's like
yeah, but if you're not there, what are we saying? He should have better controlled his wife.
Yes.
No, we're not sending that message.
Keep your woman in check. No, I don't mean that.
Yeah, he doesn't mean that. I would not let him get away with it.
But I mean, I think you can't go grandstanding about that and then.
No, that's very. But I suspect he didn't know, because if he knew, he'd have kept his mouth fucking shut.
His wife should be sacked from her job, and they should face a fine.
Oh, they should be fined, absolutely.
But I mean, you can, but it's a bit embarrassing. Either
God, it doesn't look good. But actually, I don't know if you really should. If he can prove that he was away, he wasn't in the house when a house, because basically I'm not responsible for what you do, and vice versa.
No, but I mean,
if it was a minor, let's say it was his teenage daughter who'd had friends over, then yes, it's his responsibility, and the mother's obviously. But I think you're not responsible for what your partner does.
No, I think that is true.
And it does set a bit of a dangerous precedent for controlling your woman.
I think that is right, but I think I'm just very cynical about the idea that he definitely didn't know anything about it, and poor old innocent Rob Roberts was just off in London while his wife had a birthday party.
Well, I know fuck all about Rob Roberts. I've never heard his name until now, but I do find that quite funny.
I tell you what, we are rapidly running out of time, but I really want to do a quick sort of and finally story.
And finally?
Yeah, to end the kind of...
no, I'm saying and finally.
And finally.
I was segueing into your and finally.
I see. So this is
Let's do it a bit to camera. There's people watching.
This is not new news.
Right.
This is something that came out. Well, it was reported on last year, but I think even then it resurfaced. Right. It was not. But basically, in 1982, Boris Johnson's classics professor.
I know what story this
sent a letter to Stanley Johnson, his dad. So basically complaining about his. What he was like at school, So he sent a letter home to Boris Johnson's dad, and he said, Boris has really has adopted a disgracefully cavalier attitude to his classical studies. Boris sometimes seems affronted when criticised for what amounts to a gross failure of responsibility, and surprised at the same time that he was not appointed captain of the school for next half. I think he honestly believes that it is churlish of us not to regard him as an exception, one who should be free of the network of obligation that binds everyone else. Our Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen.
And obviously it's perhaps unfair to judge somebody on how they were when they were in school, but I do think that does sort of sound like the descriptions of a raging narcissist / psychopath. Like, I don't have to follow those rules.
If you didn't know,
and I'm the best and I should be captain.
If you didn't know where that letter had come from, some of those quotes, that final thing about him feeling he's above, people and shouldn't be bound by the same rules as everyone else, should be treated as an exception, is surprised that other people don't feel that as well.
Yeah.
If you found out, if you didn't know where that was from, and someone said that someone wrote that about Boris Johnson yesterday, based purely on his record as a Prime Minister, you don't. Yeah, that rings true. That sounds right.
That's in keeping with all of the information we have at hand, because that's how it's been when. Basically, I think that's part of the reason why he gets away with a lot of shit. Is he has this attitude that you sort of believe, you kind of, because he acts like he hasn't done anything wrong and just sort of shrugs it off fairly shamelessly. There's a little bit of you that's like, well, maybe it isn't as bad as that I thought. That it's like gaslighting. It's just he's just not no, I can do whatever I want, and because he does it sort of with no sense of shame or embarrassment, you kind of go, oh, okay, carry on then, cheating on your wife and having people beaten up and lying and making up shit in newspapers and or having many children and not even being willing to say how many you've got, and all of the things that he does all of the time.
Shaking hands while telling other people not to.
Yeah, gloating about shaking hands with COVID patients. Going to your mother's on Mother's Day when we're all supposed to be in lockdown. He's just like nothing, but like maybe that his attitude has served him well. They do say fake it till you make it, and maybe he just is really good at that.
When's he going to make it, though?
Well,
when's he going to be an actual Prime Minister instead of just a blonde child pretending?
Oh, God, a spoiled Etonian toddler with a god complex and a roving eye.
On that bombshell.
Oh, that's the longest one ever. Boo! Yes. Right, okay. Thank you very much, guys. I think we actually just about covered everything, so we will talk to you again tomorrow. In the meantime, fuck the Tories, and like and subscribe. There's no shame in it.
There's no shame in it.